A breaking news alert on King 5 News at noon. A historic decision in our state. 3 Tacoma police officers are criminally charged for killing Manuel Ellis. 2 of them are charged with murder, 1 with manslaughter, more than a year after Ellis died. Officer Christopher Burbank on the left there, Officer Matthew Collins in the middle are both charged with second-degree murder. Officer Timothy Rankine on the right is charged with first-degree manslaughter. That decision was just announced by the Attorney General within the hour. We have team coverage for you today. I'm Steve Bunin. Our Lionel Donovan joining us now with more from Tacoma. Lionel.
That's right, Steve. And this is actually, as you were saying earlier, this is a historic decision because this is the first time in Washington's history that an attorney general has filed criminal charges against law enforcement officers for the use of deadly force. Now, when it comes to second-degree murder, the standard sentencing for that offense is around 10 to 18 years in prison with no prior criminal history. In regards to first-degree manslaughter, the standard sentencing is 6.5 to 8.5 years in prison. However, the maximum sentencing for both of these offenses is life in prison. Now, the reaction to this news has been met with a wide range of emotions from community organizers and leaders here in Tacoma. They have ranged from celebration to cautious optimism. I've had a chance to sit down and speak to some of the organizers here in Tacoma who have said that although they are encouraged by these charges and they do appreciate Attorney General Bob Ferguson looking at all of the facts and making the correct choice, they also understand that the work is still not done. You have to keep in mind that they have been waiting for this decision for over a year. And so although they have said that this is a good first step, that they are now waiting to see what will happen after this, because it is not enough for them to be convicted, but the officers also need to be found guilty as well. And other community organizers said that they are waiting for the other 3 officers to have charges filed against them as well. And I've also been able to speak to one of the organizers here from Legally Black, saying that it is good for these officers to be charged, but there also needs to be work done to address the system that allowed these officers to act this way in the first place. Now, the Ellis family will be holding a press conference later on in the day in order to respond to the news of these charges, and other community organizers and activists will be at that press conference as well, talking about what they think the next steps should be. And as soon as those comments are made, we'll be sure to bring them to you first. For now, we're live in downtown Tacoma. Lionel Donovan, King 5 News.
Thank you, Lionel. And our coverage continues with Drew Mickelson in Tacoma, near the spot where Manuel Ellis was killed 14 months ago. Drew, it's been a long wait for a lot of people in Pierce County.
Yeah, Steve, it's funny you mentioned the word long wait. We just spoke with someone who drove up here. We're across the street from the scene where Manuel Ellis was killed 14 months ago. And somebody drove up and said, what's the deal? And we told them that the officers had just been charged, and they say they're just now being charged. So that obviously is a big part of the story, how long it took. But the initial reaction that we're getting seems to be positive, at least from the officials who we're talking to. Take a look at this statement just released by Governor Jay Inslee. He thanked the Attorney General Bob Ferguson for what Inslee called a thorough investigation, saying, quote, "In June, I called for a new investigation and for the Attorney General to make a charging decision in the case, as it was clear to me that those needed to be made independent from Pierce County law enforcement. The resulting charging decision that was made today by Attorney General Bob Ferguson is the result of that investigation. This decision is within the authority of the Attorney General's office, and I look forward to a full briefing on their findings. This is the first step in our system of justice." Speaking of justice and laws, joining us right now live is Representative Melanie Morgan. You represent this district here in Pierce County. Your reaction to these officers now facing felony charges?
It's the beginning of justice being served for Manuel Ellis. But the real thing here, Drew, is the family. Nothing is going to bring their family member back. My heart goes out to them today. There's some justice that they've been asking for since the day that he was killed on this street. And today they got some justice. Now the real test begins of the legislations that we've passed, that the use of force and tactics that were military in a way, and also about no-knock warrants. So today is a big day for the state of Washington. And why is that, Drew? Because George Floyd was killed in May Manuel Ellis was killed in March. Nothing had been done until the Globe recognized George Floyd. So today, Drew, Manuel Ellis is our George Floyd here in Tacoma, here in the 29th Legislative District, where I've raised 3 boys. It could have been my son that was killed over here. This is why I take this so much personal for me. This is really my community, and my heart really goes out to Manuel Ellis's mother. To lose a child, I will never understand, but my heart goes out to her and to the rest of the family. This is their day, and let us not forget that.
This ruling just came out within the last hour. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at any of the court documents, but what jumped out to me, and it may not surprise you, the police officers told one story, the witnesses, the video, told a completely different story, and that's why these officers, 3 of them, are now facing felony charges.
Thank God for the witnesses, right? That's what has been in this country. And you know, Drew, that I've been speaking on black codes and dismantling racism in the state of Washington. If it were not for those witnesses, would we be standing here today? Probably not. There have been too many cases that are not getting the attention. We have Mr. Saeed that was killed in Lakewood that we haven't even brought into the limelight and talked about. He also deserves justice. There are many stories that are not being told of black and brown people being murdered on these streets. And today, we've said something loudly in the state of Washington. Enough is enough. Time is up. We are going to serve justice to victims. To victims. These are not criminals. He was a victim. Listen, we want to focus on his character and what he did and did not do. The reality is, could he have his day in court to say whether he did or did not do it? He was not served due process. And that's what the problem is today. So today, hopefully, he gets his due process.
Representative Melanie Morgan, thank you very much for your time. I know this is an important day for you, and thank you for spending some of it with us. As she said, as the governor said, this is only the first step of justice. A charge obviously does not mean these officers are going to be put away. This just begins the legal process, and we will, of course, follow that in the months and potentially years to come. Live in Tacoma, Drew Mickelson, King 5 News.
And we have much more coverage, Drew, throughout the hour here on our show on King 5 News at 4, and of course online, king5.com, where we've got a timeline of the case, a lot of background information from the night Manuel Ellis died to the initial investigation, to Governor Inslee stepping in, shifting the investigation to different offices, and then to the murder and manslaughter charges that were brought today on the 3 Tacoma police officers.